body perception slowly develops. At the beginning of the second year of life, the toddler develops his own will and experiences limits for the first time, which end in tears and disappointment when they are set. At the end of the second year of life, we recognize our reflection in the mirror as our own I. Our independence begins here. From the third year of life, a child establishes a connection between cause and effect, but sees the cause of a praise, a rebuke, a ban, or a scolding in himself. Innocent and completely in the hands of parents, we as infants have only these basic needs: nutrition, health, sleep, safety, love, acceptance, and security. It is during the first years of life between 0 and 6 that positive and negative experiences are unconsciously stored for the future on our hard drive. Here the foundation is laid for our later development and learning ability. These are equal to the later social skills of each person. The painful experiences in early childhood have triggered fears or resistance to further experiences in the young child, and he or she has learned protective and defensive mechanisms to cope with the experiences. Furthermore, as young children, we learned how to behave to avoid these situations. In the process, our perception may have been suppressed, or we may have distrusted our feelings, denied them, or considered them to be wrong and pretensive. Every child has the desire to be loved by its parents, and if in the course of its personal development it repeatedly experiences rejection, punishment, or coldness on the part of its caregivers, the need is gradually suppressed. This is an unconscious protective function in the brain, according to brain researcher Gerald Huther. The neurologist explains that this mechanism, called coherence, is essential so that the brain, and inevitably the whole person, uses the least amount of energy. This state is achieved when all neurological and biological processes fit together optimally. If a conflict arises between the child's need for recognition and the parent's rejection, then the coherence is disturbed, and this state very quickly becomes imbalanced because the brain's neurons begin to fire in an uncoordinated manner. This results in discomfort, and we look for a solution. When the solution is found, the brain chemistry becomes more coherent again, and we feel better. For this reason, the small child willingly gives up its needs. According to Gerald Huther, there is then another circumstance that involuntarily rewards this neurological function: the praise of the parents because the child is good. He goes on to say that it is precisely these neurological processes that ensure that we fit in well with family and society. He concludes that, for example, a good school degree is not necessarily an indicator of intelligence and diligence, but of good adaptability. The more the brain gets involved in suppressing needs and personality traits, the more adaptable a person is. The researcher is convinced that one is never really happy in this state because the constantly burgeoning needs are pushed away with a high energy expenditure in the brain. Those affected always continue to adapt to the external circumstances of life, fit in everywhere, and have no individual development. They have lost important qualities such as zest for life, spontaneity, and passion. The good news is that the brain is rebuildable throughout life, and it is never too late to break free from learned patterns of behavior and feelings. This requires getting back in touch with our needs and personality traits. Brain research describes this ability as neuroplasticity. In psychotherapy, since the 1990s, one considers the inner child as a model for the individual experiences of childhood, such as a bundle of feelings, memories, and experiences. Feelings such as joy, pain, happiness, sadness, intuition, curiosity, abandonment, loneliness, fear, and anger are experienced by the young child, but due to the still missing self-reflection of an adult consciousness, they are later transformed into dysfunctional and unhealthy patterns of belief and life. In various psychotherapeutic approaches, work with the inner child is used to heal psychological wounds and traumas of childhood, to find more self-love, self-confidence, and overall a healthier way of dealing with oneself. A two-part perspective is consciously adopted, that of the observing adult and reflected consciousness and that of the experiencing little inner child. In this way, connections can be made by bringing the casual connection out of the unconscious state into consciousness, understood and accepted, illuminated, and healed. The integration of negative past experiences and dissolution of burdening behavior patterns are by no means new. As a fixed component in psychotherapeutic work and alternative spiritual healing service,